How is everybody doing today? Welcome to the Sounds Like Liberty podcast. I'm your host, Nicky P, here with my lovely wife, Lizzie, and, co-host of sorts.
Yeah, that too.
She did most of the hosting last week, so she almost gets like a host title.
I have like a badge on my sash or something.
Anyways, this is episode number 19 with the Launchpad Media, always launching ideas in your direction. So, we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to start out by dissecting some lyrics.
Ooh, and we've got a good one for you guys this week.
I personally recommend you go and watch the video as we do this because it's pretty intense.
Yeah, there's a lot in the song, but the video certainly helps.
It's actually a really sweet video.
It is a sweet video. It's multi-layered.
I think they probably have an erroneous understanding of economics personally, but that's
quite possible.
That's what us Austrians think of everyone.
It says, yeah, well, this is true.
So, but anyways, let's start from the top here.
All right.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars. No handlebars. No handlebars. I can ride my bike with no handlebars. No handlebars. No handlebars. So, for those who didn't grasp, we're going to be doing Handlebars by Flobots today.
Yeah.
So what's he trying to say with that line?
Well, it's really interesting because they're taking you on a journey, as you tend to say you like journeys in songs. And this one is kind of going from childhood all the way through, getting in touch with like how the world actually is. So you're starting really simple. Like, I can ride my bike with no handlebars. That's
pretty
cool.
Impressive of you, right?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, man. So, look at me, hands in the air like it's good to be alive. That's a great pacing, by the way.
Yeah,
awesome
right. Phrasing.
Like, the dude could...
Yeah, he does. He's got the flow.
And I'm a famous rapper, even when the paths are all crookedy. I can show you how to do-si-do. I can show you how to scratch a record. I can take apart the remote control, and I can almost put it back together.
That is such a kid thing. Like, that was me as a kid. I want to know how this thing works. I'm going to take it apart. And dang, I didn't actually figure out how to put it back together.
And I think it's interesting in that it focuses on, like, the illusions. That's the whole song is about illusions.
Yeah.
And perhaps the ones that we build up to ourselves, the ones that we build up in general. So I like how I just love that. I can barely put it back together apart.
Yeah.
So I can tie a knot in a cherry stem. I can tell you about Leif Erikson. I know all the words to De Colores, and I'm proud to be an American. Me and my friend saw a platypus. Me and my friend made a comic book. And guess how long it took? I can do anything that I want, because look. I like the idea, and they're seeding something in here. Like, I don't care how you feel about the song itself, but there are legit things that they do lyrically in here.
Yeah.
I know the lyrics to De Colores, and I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm proud to be an American. It's like, okay, we'll start you young,
right?
Before you even know what you're like. You don't know anything. Like you're proud of this knowledge of all the most ridiculous shit in the world.
I mean, yeah, and they even put it in there in quotation marks. Like, I don't really know what this means, but it's a phrase I hear a lot. So, yeah, that's a thing.
Oh, it's a song.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm proud
That's
to
true.
be
That's
an
true.
American.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Which I, as a child, have heard too many times. Oh, my God.
Bajillion, every flippin' 4th of July. Oh, yeah.
So, he switches up the chorus here, which is a nice little stunt.
Nice.
I can keep rhythm with no metronome. No metronome. No metronome. And I can see your face on the telephone. On the telephone. On the telephone. I'm curious, what do you think he means by that? You think that's like seeing into the future sort of moment.
I don't know. Yeah, that is interesting because I feel like that wasn't quite as big of a thing.
It was not existent at that point.
At that point,
I had a Kyocera at this point.
Did they have like a little icon when people would call? Like
no,
they really didn't. Yeah.
No, Liz, like I think my screen was like 18 pixels by
right,
18
and
pixels.
it's like literally green with black text, and yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting thing they threw in there.
So don't you do this particular verse?
All right, look at me, just called to say that it's good to be alive in such a small world. I'm all curled up with a book to read. I can make money open up a thrift store. I can make a living off a magazine. I can design an engine 64, miles to a gallon of gasoline. I can make new antibiotics. I can make computers survive aquatic conditions. I know how to run a business. I can make you want to buy a product. Movers, shakers, and producers, me and my friends understand the future. I see the strings that control the systems. I can do anything with no assistance, because I can lead a nation with a microphone.
With a microphone.
With a microphone.
With a microphone.
And I can split the atoms of a molecule, of a molecule, of a molecule.
All right, so already we're seeing where he's going with this.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very anti-capitalist song.
Well, yeah, obviously...
Which, if you're watching the video, you're already seeing, like,
yeah.
Capitalism is everything that's wrong with the world.
Well, I think the way that they're building the story...
They're structuring a story specifically to do just that.
Well, like, a lot of those things aren't, inherently bad things. They're suggesting that they lead to things that may be bad, but, the advance of technology isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I think the advance of technology is necessarily a good thing. It's like I'm not even following on it. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, he's pointing out this verse specifically, just all the good things that you can do to make yourself a good American and a good capitalist and to push progress forward. And taking advantage of those things, and you're going to lead the world.
Yeah, and he's calling out people specifically that are like, I did it with no help. I did it myself. I figured it out. The people who want to be leaders. And again, like, not necessarily vilifying those people, but kind of...
Fucking commies.
Kind of,
So, look at me, driving and I won't stop. And it feels good to be alive and on top. My reach is global, my tower secure, my cause is noble, my power is pure. I can hand out 1 million vaccinations or let them all die in exasperation. Have them all healed of their lacerations, have them all killed by assassination. I can make anybody go to prison just because I don't like them, man. I can do anything with no permission. I have it all under my command. Because I can guide a missile by satellite. And I can hit a target through a telescope. And I can end the planet in a holocaust. And
that kind of goes on for a minute.
And then, he ties it all back up, goes a couple more rounds of, I can ride my bike with no handlebars, no handlebars. I know he's going a different way than I would go with this, but there is a point of truth that I find in there, specifically because I think he's at least drafting the idea that there is something in people that can be good or can be evil.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to treat it as a necessary thing that, you follow all these things and eventually you're just going to be the person in control and you're going to kill people. And
right. Because in the video itself, they literally have two boys that are, riding their bikes together, and then they kind of diverge on these two different paths, and one goes, this way and becomes Mr. Capitalist, power mad, guy, and the other one becomes like poor guy on the street who just needs, some help from, above. And they create this dichotomy that doesn't really need to be there.
Well, I think it focuses so much on, and a lot of people on this political side do this. They focus on the idea that, how would I put this? They focus on the idea that the government and money are the same thing. And that's not the case. It functions as the case currently because we have a system that's set up to function that way. In actuality, that is not how all this has to work. You have the corruption because you have the power.
Right.
The minute you designate the power to somebody, the money will buy the power. But if you don't have that power there in the first place, you're literally at the mercy of markets.
Yeah.
Now, there's underhanded things that you can do, but the fact of the matter is, and this is the big thing I always point out, is because when they'll paint you this awful, awful picture of this terrible world, and you're like, okay, so then it's different than now. How? All these things that you're concerned are going to exist already currently exist.
Yeah.
So if we can get everything more equal on balance, and we still have the same problems, just we have more equality, well, then I don't see the problem. I think that we'd have a lot fewer problems in general, given a more equitable system based on, actual merit.
But from a feely standpoint, it's far more appealing to just paint this picture of a utopia that doesn't exist now.
Well, I would argue can't exist. The human motivations won't allow it.
Yeah, that our system's going to create this utopian future, and you just wait. And yeah, possibly not realistic.
I would say very, very unrealistic.
Yeah. All right, so the big question.
No, go on. I thought you were getting ahead of me there.
No, I was gonna say the big question being, where do we put this on our scale?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Without guidance, I'm gonna give it a what do you call it? Bob Dylan score.
I mean, they are driving the point home pretty hard that capitalism equals power
equals bad.
Government equals bad, yeah. And they don't necessarily all have to be in the same conglomeration on one side and then people on the other side.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go commie on it. It's commie trash right now. But I think it can be something else if you take the time to explain it. It's a good starting point, anyways,
sure.
Because it does examine how some people think about things.
Oh, it gets some thoughts and ideas out there for sure.
Oh, it's very, very potent. It's well constructed. The video itself is amazing.
It's
awesome
soul
to watch.
stirring. And if you could get some economics knowledge in there, then yeah, you can start guiding people in a useful direction with it, or guiding yourself. Really, that's the way this works.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's move along.